Old Mulligan's shack lay well off the track, on a run that was stony and dour. A settler's block, it was hard as a rock, with no telephone, light or power. And old Mulligan too, he was as tough as a roo, although he had mellowed considerably. You see, he'd wed late in life, and his darling young wife was expecting their first progeny. Well, the prospect he had of becoming a dad filled Mulligan's heart with joy, and though he knew that he ought to be pleased with the daughter, he secretly hoped for a boy. A strapping young lad who could help his old dad and make sure his mum came to no harm. He'd be handsome and game and get the Mulligan name and the dubious bequest of the farm. Well, he sent for his sister a fortnight before. She was skilled in midwifery's art, and as his darling wife grew, he knew she was due by the markings on his old carbon chart. Then, early one morning, as Mulligan dreamt of the future in store for his son, he was woken in fear by a voice in his ear. "Wake up, Pat, I think me time's come." Well, he leapt into action, as Mulligan could, lit the lantern, stoked up the fire, roused up his sister and chopped some more wood, then dressed in delivery attire. And as the hours passed by, the tension ran high as his wife lay there gasping and panting, and old Mulligan stood like petrified wood with a white-knuckled grasp on the lantern. Then, sometime soon after, amidst crying and laughter, relief intermingled with joy. In that little bush shack on Mulligan's track, the midwife delivered a boy. And as the little fella screamed and Mulligan beamed on that morning he'd never forget, he heard his wife say in her casual way, "I don't think I'm quite finished yet." As the words that she'd said spun around in his head, his sister leapt into top gear, and she said, "Well, fancy that. Hold the lantern still, Pat. I think there's another one here." By the flickering light they could see she was right, and they marvelled from one to the other. Then it was, "Push now, my love," and his wife gave a shove, and old Mulligan's son had a brother. As the newest one squealed and Mulligan reeled, he was stunned by his wife's awesome plumbing, and quite unprepared, as the midwife declared, "I think there's another one coming." Then Mulligan just looked as his wife's body shook and her face had a trance-like expression. And his sister said, "Oh, Pat, well, how about that?" as two daughters arrived in quick succession. Now, the next little while is recalled with a smile by his sister still many years after. And the Mulligan crew see the joke in it too, although it could well have been a disaster. At the sight of four babies, all squealing and damp, lined up at the foot of the bed, old Mulligan turned and blew out the lamp, like something had snapped in his head. Then, from the darkness, came his terrified roar, as his wife gave one final contraction. "I've already got 4, I don't want any more. It must be the light what attracts them." Now the years have passed by, and the laughter rings high around the table at Mulligan's camp, as 4 kids want to know about that time long ago when Mulligan blew out the lamp.